Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, we have the pleasure of having with us Dan Blanchard. He is a best-selling and award-winning author, speaker, and educator. He's going to be having a wonderful conversation with Daniel Gomez. Daniel is a powerful, motivational keynote speaker, international best-selling author of You Were Born to Fly. He has 14 years of experience in the arena of leadership development and team building. But before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. Also, if we are live streaming, we're going to be having the active chat, the screen that you see on my side, or if you're following us from a smartphone, it's going to be under the video, and through there you can interact with us. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content, and you can do that by going to our website. On the top, you're going to find a link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out so our technical team can get in contact with you. Remember that you can collaborate with Mindalia in English through Mindalia TV English, but you can also do it in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisao and Spanish through Mindalia Televisión. Follow our different channels, our Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, and with that, you are not only helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible, but you also keep yourself updated with the amazing information that we share there on a daily basis. I'm not delaying this any further. I have now the great pleasure of introducing and saying welcome to Dan Blanchard and to Daniel Gomez. Gentlemen, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is now yours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mirna. It's a pleasure to be back. And Dan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. Yourself? I'm pumped up to be
wonderful.
on your show, man. Thank you for having me, Dan. Hey, when you have one Dan, it's problems. When you got two Dans, hey, Lord knows what can happen, man. So let's do this.
Right. Well, you know what they say, Dan. What's better than one Dan?
Two
Two
Dans.
Dan. That's right, man. So let me let the people out there, the audience, know who you are. Let me give a brief introduction of you. So Dan Gomez, he comes all the way from San Antonio, people. Hey, he's a Friday Inspiration podcast. And this guy, he just seems to do it all. He's a keynote speaker, successful entrepreneur, does all sorts of great things in leadership, works with the youth, and he does this awesome thing called a confidence architect and a confidence life coach. I just think that's so cool. And then if that wasn't enough, throw on top of that, he does John Maxwell's stuff as well. And like, did I say this guy was a leader doing leadership stuff? He seems to be doing it all. So Dan, I know I just gave a brief introduction, but maybe you could let our audience know, maybe fill in some of the gaps of what I didn't say, and let our audience know who you are.
Man, you did it. I didn't even recognize who you described there, my man. So thank you so much. No,
I've been there, man. I've been there.
No, well, I'm a confidence architect, and what a confidence architect does is he goes in there and he builds businesses up, and he does that in a business level. But then I also do it as a confidence architect on a personal life level as a confidence life coach. So if somebody's life isn't going the way that it needs to go, they either lost their confidence along the way, they got stuck in a rut, and they stopped believing in themselves. Because when I go in there and I do these business assessments, and it's just amazing what you see. And a lot of times, if it's a small business of 50 people and less, if it's not doing good, it's leadership. So if the leader's lost his confidence, if there's no vision, the people perish. But sometimes they just don't see it because they're in the forest as to being on top of the forest or outside the forest. So that's what a confidence architect is.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best parts of my life is really going in there, and whether it's a male or female, just really let them know, hey, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great.
Oh, I love that. That's great. You don't have to be great to start, but you do got to start to be great. That is wonderful. So I'm thinking like Angel Rebo, who's also affiliated with this show. He does like a lot of entrepreneur stuff for a lot of the kids down in Latin America. Now, I know you do stuff with youth. You do entrepreneurial stuff. What do you think about sharing or teaching entrepreneurial skills to our youth?
I mean, I love that. I think that's great. I think that's our future. Too many people we undervalue our youth because we figure that they don't know, but they don't know because we don't take time to teach them and mentor them. And that's one thing that we lack now is sometimes we get impatient. And I think that just comes from our society here in America. We want instant gratification and we want to microwave everything, and we can't microwave everything.
Oh, yeah, so true. I know in one of my books, The Storm, I write about this concept called Kaizen, where the granddaddy is telling the grandson about the Japanese or the Asian concept of Kaizen. You know, change is good. And he talked about there was no equivalent word to that in the English language of the whole Kaizen concept. If it's a breathing, living concept of total improvement, like every single day. I mean, it was for the businesses with total quality management, but it also comes down to the individual level, which is kind of, I think, what you do a little bit too with your life coaching for individuals. And it's a breathing, growing, living concept of always improving yourself. And I know the granddaddy in my book says to the grandson that if we had that here in this country, more kids would be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They wouldn't think that they were just a kid or just a teenager or not old enough to do anything important yet. And if you know the history, you know, young kids have been very young when they've made decisions that have changed the world. I mean, how old was Joan of Arc? 17 years old when she was leading armies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the list goes on and on and on. That whole concept of saying, I'm just a kid, doesn't really hold water. Especially when they run into people like you, Dan, who are going to teach them leadership skills and get their butts moving in the right direction.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, the one thing that we can actually learn a lot from 2 years olds, right? A 2-year-old kid will teach you so much. And as adults, we can learn from a 2-year-old. Guess what? You take a 2-year-old child to the grocery store. He gets into the aisle to pay in the cashier. He wants that candy bar. Mom tells him no. He wants that candy bar. Mom tells him no again. He wants that candy bar again. He finally says, you know what? Let me try to cry. He cries. And guess what he has? The candy bar. He's persistent. He's the best salesman in the world, right?
Yeah. Natural salesman.
Yeah. And he doesn't take no, right? And not only that, this is what I love about 2-year-olds. They don't hold grudges. Say they don't get the candy bar that day. They don't go home and say, oh, Mom, I'm mad at you. No, they don't have that learned behavior yet.
Yeah.
So I think if anything hurts us as adults is that we forget to be persistent and we forget not to hold grudges, because those two things hold mostly any entrepreneur back, because when you hold a grudge, you don't want to help people, and in return, people don't help you, and you can never achieve greatness by yourself.
Oh, I so agree with that, Dan. You're right on. And when I think about your confidence architect, I remember the first time I heard that. I was like, okay, what is that? I mean, that kind of sounds interesting. Then you explained it to me a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So when I think about that confidence architect, and I think that people who are not living up to their true potential, their true abilities of what they could do in life, I think, you know what? They have forgotten what it feels like to be a fearless 2-year-old. I mean, think about it. When that kid's, like you said, they're natural salesmen. They don't, no doesn't scare them away. They're not afraid of rejection. But what's the other thing? When they're learning to walk, they don't fear falling down. They fall down 1,000 times and get right back up. They are fearless. And I think that when we grow up, as we go through the different life stages, we lose that fearlessness, and we totally forget that we were once fearless 2-year-olds.
Exactly.
And now we're 22 years old, and we're fearful.
Yeah. Well, you know why though? Because what happens is when you grow, and even in 1st and 2nd grade, you don't care. All you worried about is, Mom, did the tooth fairy come? But your imagination, you still use your imagination. And all of a sudden, I think when you hit that point when they tell you, Santa Claus isn't real, the tooth fairy isn't real, I think in a sense, as a child, I think that's where we learn. How can I say it? That's when we first really realized that we let people start shaping our identity, right? This isn't real, so stop dreaming. And that happens when you find out, well, the tooth fairy isn't real, Santa Claus isn't real, because think about it. Until that point, you really believe that Santa Claus is coming down the chimney, and guess what? You don't even have a darn chimney. Think about it.
Yeah, but you believed it, right?
Yeah, and even the Word of God says, where there is no vision, the people perish. So we don't use your imagination. There's no vision in your future. You're not gonna succeed in your business and your personal life.
Oh, no doubt. And I love how you're saying that. I mean, it's basically like people are telling you, listen, child play is over. It is now time to grow up. But perhaps we shouldn't fully grow up. Maybe we need to remember the lessons of our youth. And that brings me, Dan, do you remember that Peter Pan movie? Robin Williams was in it. And I think he was called Peter like Payne, or he was a businessman, 50-year-old businessman, kids of his own. And he's talking, he goes to visit like his aunt in England. And like Captain Crook shows up, takes his kids, and his aunt's going, Peter, you have to remember who you are. Remember who you are. And he's going, I'm Peter Payne, the 50-year-old businessman. No. You need to remember who you are, Peter. Remember who you are. And he was Peter Pan. And the one that never grew up. And he couldn't remember who he used to be. But the moment he does remember is when he's there, he's able to go save the day. So we are like that. Again, I'm going to go back to that fearless 2-year-old. Like, we can't remember who we used to be. So maybe we all need aunts going, Dan, remember who you are. Yeah. You have to remember who you are.
Yeah,
we're the fearless 2-year-olds.
Yeah, well, I think what happens is as our youth grow up, they try so hard to fit in, and they look at who's cool in school, and they try to be like them, and then they figure out that's not them, and then they try to figure out another cool crowd, and they lose their identity in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then along the way, they're made fun of because of the shoes they wear, or they're not wearing the Nike logo or the Reebok logo, or if you're a female, you're not wearing the Kate Spade, whatever it may be, you're not wearing the logo, and it shapes your identity. And then we carry that insecurity into adolescence, and then next thing you know, we second guess everything we do. So if there's a word of advice of leadership out there for our students and our youth, or just even adults, it's like, stop worrying about OPOs. You know what an OPO is, right? Other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Don't worry about OPOs. OPOs are going to be there. You know what? There comes a point where you got to stop worrying about that stuff, and you just got to let it go. And you know what? Let them have their own OPOs, and leave it like that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm an inner city school teacher, so I see a lot of kids doing exactly what you're saying, Dan. They do it all the time. And I try to tell them, I say, listen, let me tell you about some of the coolest kids from my school when I was growing up, right? They were the ones that were smoking cigarettes in the bathroom, giving the teachers the hard time, drinking alcohol, and everybody thought they were the coolest kids, right?
Yeah.
I go, those coolest kids, they're now living in their parents' basement somewhere. You know what I'm saying? That's how cool they were. And I'm like, so don't worry about that. Don't try to be something that you're not. You know, maybe it doesn't feel right for you to smoke a cigarette or drink a beer. Good. It shouldn't feel right. Have your own identity. Maybe it feels weird when I tell you, carry a pen and a little miniature notebook in your pocket. So when you have these great thoughts, you can write them down. Don't be afraid of looking like some kind of geek or some kind of nerd or some kind of academia, love school. I mean, I can't stand it when I hear people say, oh, it's not cool to do well in school. That's like the farthest thing from the truth, because those kids that supposedly are not cool because they're doing well in school, well, down the road, they're the ones that are going to decide whether or not to hire you.
Exactly. No, you're right on that. You're 100% right on that. So I see it all the time. Just, sometimes we put more emphasis on what other people think about us and our own opinion, and it's truly an identity crisis. And I really believe that's why suicide is up in high schools. And I do a lot of I have a corporate sponsor that really sponsors gives back to our city here of San Antonio, to our youth. And you'd be surprised, just these last 3 months, since November, we've probably saved about 6 or 7 students' lives that actually came up on stage and said, you know what, thank you for what you said. Whatever you said just really touched my heart, and I thank you that now I know I matter. So you think about the courage of the kids that had the courage to come up and admit it. So for everyone that does it, I'm thinking there's about another 3 or 4 that don't have the courage. So it's amazing when you're able to do that and really impact people and let them know that, hey, it's okay to be you. You don't have to be anybody else.
Yeah, it's like being comfortable in your skin. And that's one of the greatest gifts of all, is to be comfortable in your skin, And what did Socrates say? The unexamined life isn't worth living. Ask yourself those tough questions. Who are you? What are you meant for? What greatness are you going to pursue? How are you going to make this world a better world? How are you going to face your fear, overcome your fear, build your courage muscle, stand up for what's right, be that leader, be a good leader, that does good things. Don't lead people down the road to skipping school. That's not the kind of leader we're talking about,
Yes.
right? So it's about being comfortable in your skin. But I mean, leadership is so difficult. And getting that place, Dan, where me and you are right now, we've had our ups and downs, and we've had our troubles, but we've gotten to that place now where we're that role models, where we're unselfish, where we put ourselves out there to help every kid we see, and sometimes it's a big help, especially if a kid's in trouble and considering taking their life. So I'm just wondering, Dan, I mean, what got you started on this road to become the man that you are now? How did you just not drift into the field of mediocrity or follow the leader of somebody else who kind of looked cool?
Well, I think for me, it started when I've always kind of been competitive, but when I got into car business back around 20 years ago, it just sparked in me. I think I was poor when I grew up. So I remember when my dad got sick with cancer when I was 26, it's just my life, my mind started getting reprogrammed, and I really started just reading the word of God, and I really believed that God wanted me to prosper. And when I got in the car business, I applied all those principles and I prospered and became a top salesman 3 years in a row, won trips to Las Vegas, won trips to Hawaii. And I just applied that daily. And 2 years ago, when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, I resigned from the automobile industry because I ran dealerships the last 14 years I was there. And I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. My wife was depressed. Our house was paid off. We were blessed financially, but it didn't do me any good to have money and my wife dying on us. So I made a decision as a leader of my household that I had to put my wife before money. And many people put people before their, whenever you put profits before people, the business is never going to succeed. But when you put people before profits, your business will flourish. And I teach that, and I had to apply that in my own life, but in my own household. And that's a business, right? If you can't run your own household to be profitable, then you're never going to run a business to be profitable. That's just the bottom line. That's rule number one. So I just made sure my wife was better. The first 3 months were horrific, but she got through. We were cancer free. We got our miracle during Christmas of 2017.
Cool.
And I just found myself not wanting to go back into the corporate America. So I started reading Think and Grow Rich, and I said, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Chief Definite Purpose, and one thing led to another. And it's amazing when you run car dealerships, how much work you really do. And I used to always, no matter if I ran the dealership, I was the main guy there. I always loved to train. I always did the training on Mondays. And little behold, I felt like God said, I want you to be a motivational speaker. So, of course, when I told everybody that, they're like, you're crazy. You know how many motivational speakers there are out there?
Yep.
And I said, you know what? I don't care. I said, if it's of God, it's going to happen. And sure enough, I just applied to work, fell down many times, applied to work, fell down many times, applied to work, stumbled and fell, cried some tears. I have a saying, right? You're not really an entrepreneur until you cry in the restroom and you thought about giving up. True story.
Oh, that's so true.
True story.
You just said so many things, Dan. We can go on for hours about the things you just said. But myself, I come from the educational world first, and I'm still in the educational world. So, and then now I'm also in the entrepreneurial world as well, author and speak and all the other things I do. But coming from the educational world first, and still being in the educational world, it was easier for me to say, let's put people before profits. You just got to do that. I mean, I see people every day that just need so much help. And, being an educator, it's not about getting rich. It's about making a difference. And, if you could pay your bills, you're not going to live a big life, but a lavish life. But if you can pay your bills, then you're living big in other ways because you're making a difference in people's life. So for me, it's always been easier with that. And I've always been able to go down that entrepreneurial road with that same mindset because my teaching pays my bills. So I've never been forced to put out a product I don't want to put out, take a job I don't want to take, do something I don't want to do to pay the bills in the business world or the entrepreneurial world. So it's been easier for me to go down that people before profits and that whole mindset. I wish it was easier for everybody. It doesn't work that way. I mean, too much of our society, what the kids see on TV, the internet, it's all about get rich at all costs. Who cares who you hurt along the way? Just watch those reality shows. They're getting rich for behaving badly.
Yeah.
So I hate that stuff. I really would like to change it. But the only way it's going to change is through good leadership, through the things like that me and you are doing. Now, me and you came up similar. We were poor, hardworking, struggling. Sports played a role. Believing that if you just work hard enough, long enough, something good's going to happen somewhere. And it did. It did for both of us.
Yes.
And myself as a teacher, I say, do not use poverty as an excuse because you have an advantage that you're growing up in poverty. Of course, they look at me like I have two heads. Like, what are you talking about? I said, you should be grateful that you're growing up in poverty. And they're like, again, what are you talking about, right? I said, here's the deal. When you grow up in poverty, you get knocked down a lot and you have to get back up. You do that enough, you learn how to get back up. So now go over a few towns to the affluent towns. The kids your age who have never been knocked down because their mommies and daddies have always been there with their big fat pocketbooks, right? If they have never been knocked down, they've never learned to get back up. And what's going to happen the day their mommy and daddy cut them off? What's going to happen the day they're on their own? What's going to happen that day they're 25 and they got knocked down?
Yeah.
They're not going to know how to get back up. Excuse me. And because you have been knocked down so many times, let's say you're working side by side with them in the same job. You both get knocked down. You get back up because you've had practice.
Yes.
Getting back up. Maybe it wasn't what you wanted along the way, but you have had practice getting back up. That other kid never had practice getting back up because everything was given to them. So now who has the advantage? You or the kid that was given everything?
Yeah. No, I believe that.
Okay.
You have resilience. You have to have that resilience in life. I speak on that. I speak on resilience too when people ask me to, but that's one of the things you have to have resilience. You have to have that resilient heart, and you can't teach that. You just something that you got to do it. And when life has a way of sucking the life out of you and hitting you in the gut, and you lose all your air, and you think, man, I can't get back up. That's when you got to get up that one time. Because it's not my wife taught me a quote when she used to be a manager. She was, you're a champion when you go back the next day, regardless of what happened the day before.
Oh, I like that.
And you got to carry that with you. You're a champion when you go back the next day, regardless of what happened the day before. And when you do that, everything else will take care of itself.
I remember the old great Vince Lombardi, the old Green Bay Packers coach. And I believe he said something along the lines of, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. So you always got to get up that one more time, then you got knocked down. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what your wife is saying. Yes. And again, I think our leaders, we need to teach that resiliency. We need to teach that mindset. Carol Dweck, Dr. Carol Dweck, wrote a great book called Mindset. And in it, she says, teachers, coaches, parents, adults, you need to stop praising the kids for their victories. You need to praise them for their efforts. That's what real leaders do. Regardless of the outcome of the game, the outcome of your report card, who cares if you get an A in an easy class? Maybe you got a C in a hard class, and that was way better. So praise the effort that the kid put into getting that C in the hard class. I mean, who cares if a kid wins a match on the freshman level? Maybe the other kid, who was also a freshman, lost a match on the varsity level. Don't praise one over the other because one won and one lost. Praise the effort. Praise the effort. Because if you praise the victory, when the kid doesn't get a victory, the kid doesn't know what to do next. He thinks that his parents, teachers, coaches, the adults in his life no longer love him, no longer respect him or her. And they're at a loss of what to do next. So you always praise the effort. And that really stuck out to me. And there were times when I pat my boy on the back, he's a freshman wrestling varsity. I pat him on the back and I'm like, that was a great win. I mean, effort. Your effort was awesome, which puts you in a position to be able to win. But it was all about your effort. So I think that's what great leaders do. Great leaders remember that stuff. And we somehow have to get the word out there that that's what great leaders and that's what all adults should be doing. But of course, Dan, that's easier said than done. I mean, leadership's a very difficult thing. And we both do well at it. So, I mean, why do you think that you did so well or do so well, Dan, at that very complex principle of leadership?
Well, I think it starts at home. I think, one thing I learned from my dad is regardless of what you're going to do, you need to get up in the morning and you need to go to work. And I remember my dad, we live about an hour away from Austin, Texas, which is up 35 North. And I remember my dad would take care of the house and he would get up every morning at 4 o'clock because he would beat traffic going to Austin. This was back in 1980, 1985. And he just always got up and I just always watched it. And he'd said, you know what, if you're going to go out with your friends, you're going to stay up late, you better get your butt up and you better do what you need to do and you better go to work. And I remember there was times that I didn't want to do anything. And I said, you know what, I got to get up because it was modeled to me. And I think that's the most important thing in leadership is when you model what's expected, it's going to come easily. Because I was just studying this the other day. It's like when you read something, you only keep 10% of what you read in your mind, right? When you see it, you only keep like 30% of it. But when you see it in action and you hear it daily, you retain it like 70%. And that's what it takes. So think about it. And then people get upset. People get upset because when you go to a seminar, you go to a class, and you being a teacher, you expect your students, man, they're gonna retain half of what I say. No, they're not. It's just the max they're gonna retain the max 30, but it's about 20% is what they're gonna do, 20 to 30%. But we get upset when people say, well, how come we don't remember that? It's just human nature. You can't. It's like a book. When you read a book, after 10 minutes or after 20 minutes, you forget 80% what you read already. It's proven scientifically.
No doubt about it. And some very valuable stuff. You just said.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that your dad was a great role model, which kind of tells me that everybody, all adults out there, need to be role models, and even kids. If you're a 13-year-old kid, be a role model for that 12-year-old kid. You know what I'm saying? So it helps when we see people out there doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I would say all adults out there, including you celebrities, don't go try to tell me that you can behave badly because you didn't ask to be a role model. So you ain't no role model. You didn't sign up for that. I say malarkey, right? You signed up for it the moment you got eyes on you. If you're excelling in basketball, baseball, football, music, you're on one of those dumb reality TV shows, you got eyeballs on you. Time to be a role model.
Something that I realize is, even people you don't think are watching you. Like just the other day, me and my wife, we went out Saturday to a festival here. It was like at a kind of like we call it fiesta. And we went out there. It was great. We were there all day. We got there like at 3. But people go, hey, that's Daniel Gomez, a motivational speaker. And it's like, I had no idea who this person was.
Yeah.
But I say that because people are watching you even when you don't realize they're watching you.
No doubt.
So if you act a fool, they're going to see you act a fool. But if you act a part, they're going to see you act a part. They're going to be like, oh, okay, great. And this is a great rule for young entrepreneurs. Is that you have to know that the first year of your business, whether you want to be a speaker, coach, trainer, whatever you want to be, right? It doesn't matter. Even if you have a brick and mortar detailing, whatever it is, people are going to actually watch you for the first year until they actually buy into you and believe in you.
True.
They're going to watch you for the first year till they actually believe in you and the service and the product. And because I think it's over 90% of all small businesses fail within the first year. So first of all, they want to see if you're going to make it past the year. Second of all, they want to see, okay, well, are you going to walk the walk that you're talking about? And then you just take it from there. Because most entrepreneurs, they don't think about stuff like that. They want that instant gratification again, and you're not going to get it. You're not going to get that instant gratification. It takes time to get those seeds planted. It takes time to water those seeds, cultivate that soil, and fertilize those seeds.
No doubt about it. I love what you said about people watching. And I think that that's great advice for everybody. Everybody should have it in their head that you're being watched, right? And if you're being watched and you're walking over a gum wrapper on the floor, right? You're being watched. Like you might stop and pick up the gum wrapper and chuck it in the trash, because that's what the ideal person would do. That's what the person of character would do. That's what the leader, the true leader, would do, is bend down, pick up the trash, chuck in the garbage can. Who cares if it wasn't yours? There's a need. It's there. It needs to be picked up. Somebody needs to pick it up. You see it. You know it needs to be done. So and people are watching you. So go ahead and be a man or a woman of character and be a leader and do it, right? So I think that if more of us were told, if more of us had it in our heads that people are watching, we would act more like the leaders that we're supposed to be. I think it's great advice. And the other thing is that you said, which I loved, was about the whole persistence thing. If you knew people were watching, you wouldn't quit on the 1 yard line. You would be persistent. You would get through that first year, get through that second year, get through that fifth year, get through that 10th year of always doing what you need to do to be consistent. And you'll have more customers than you know what to do with if you do that. But I think it does start with knowing that people are watching.
Yeah.
And so act like a leader. What would a leader do?
Well, I think this defines the character of a leader. The character of a leader is what he does, not when people are watching him, but what he does when no one's watching him.
Yeah, but I'm telling all of you, we're all watching. Yeah. Right? Yeah, we're all doing it. So you can think no one's watching, but me and Dan are telling you. All right? The two Dans are telling you you're being watched.
You're being watched. It is. But it just goes back to you have to model the behavior you want. And not only that, I think one of the main areas that there's a epidemic in leadership is just to really serve the people that they lead. They want to stay on that mountain, and they don't want to come down from that mountain. And it's like even Jesus modeled out, right? Jesus could have stayed on top of the mountain and not talk to anybody, but he came down not to be served, but to serve. And I think we can learn a lot from that. Is a lot of young leaders that once you get that title, they get that entitlement in their head, and they want to get their ego gets in the way and gets built up, and then they want to be served. And it's not that way. When you serve your people and you show them appreciation and you show them that you really care and love them, man, you flourish. And I've seen it because when I ran a Chevrolet dealership, I had no idea I had an inclination of what I was going to do, but I didn't know the T's and the I's that I had to dot to but I knew that if I cared enough for people, that everything else would come together. And what should have taken, they thought it was going to take 3 years to get us out of the red. We did it in a year. So from losing losing $1 million a year at a dealership, we flipped it to making $1 million profit in the black. So that's a $2 million swing in a year.
Wow. That's servant leadership. That's how you get everybody on the team, right? So that servant leadership, you just got to do that. And another thing I like the whole thing of a leader without a title. You know what I'm saying? You might have had some kind of title. Maybe you're a manager, maybe you're a CEO, maybe you're president, whatever you are. You have like a title. But if you do the servant leadership thing and don't act like you got a title, and then you can get your employees on board to act like leaders without titles themselves, you got a whole team of leaders
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. And that's how you get $1 million out from underneath to being $1 million on top. That's a great way to do it. Of course, much easier said than done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there was
But it
some
can
growing
be
pains.
done.
Yeah, but
And you did it.
the best, I guess the best thing is, like, I would always take my day off would be, I would take off like Fridays, and there would be nothing else. Like, I don't know, without even asking, they would send me pictures. Hey boss, we're doing this, and hey boss, we're doing that. And it's like they're doing it on their own without me
Yeah.
even asking. And it's because they know that when I'm there, I'm giving it everything I have. And if I have to stay late, if you know, if they need $10 for lunch or $5 for gas, it doesn't matter. It's like, that's what we're here for. We're a family.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've went back to the old relationships. You know,
Yeah.
you built those relationships. Those relationships are key. They're golden. And when you bring those relationships up to the nth degree, relationships on steroids, you got like family. And once people feel like family, some pretty cool things can happen. So now, speaking of family, let me go back to something you said earlier, Dan. I loved what you said about your dad. How you wake up, you're tired, you're not feeling it today, but you see your dad putting his work shirt on, putting his work shoes on, going out that door, being consistent, being that great role model. For me, it was a little bit opposite. Yes, my dad went to work every day, but there were many times I looked at my dad and I said, that's what I don't want. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that when I become my own man. I won't do that. And somehow that kind of guided me. So in a way, you were guided by the positives, the consistent positives of your dad. I was guided in the opposite direction by the consistent negatives of my dad, outside of work. Yeah, he went to work every day. I give him that. But the consistent negatives. So now what about the kid? And thank God I was able to recognize that somehow and just didn't kind of follow in his path. Still not 100% sure how I recognized that, but I just did. And I didn't just repeat the cycle,
Yeah.
which is huge. But what do you say to the kid who maybe doesn't have a father figure, good or bad? I mean, what do you say to that kid? How do you get that kid motivated and moving in the right direction?
Well, I think this. Nothing's carved in stone, because this is what happens is when you play the victim's mentality. I just did a coaching session this morning, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. This one of my clients, she was mad at somebody that had passed away, and I said, why are she didn't even realize it, but I say that because she has a choice to let that go, or she has a choice to hang on to it. And I said, look, and then she made a comment that, well, if my mom was alive, my life wouldn't have been that way. I said, look, you're saying an excuse right there, because my mom passed away when I was 10 years old, right? We were dead broke. My mom passed away when I was 10 years old. And I could have said, oh man, my life stinks because my mom passed away. If my mom would have been alive, would have been totally different. But I choose not to play that victim mentality. And at the time I didn't see it, but you always have a choice. And today of your life, it's not, I always say this when I speak, right? It's not where you start in life, it's where you finish.
True.
And you have a choice where you're going to finish in life. And always remember that. I want your audience to get that. It's not where you start in life, it's where you finish. And you might have failed once, you might have failed twice, you might have failed 3 times, you might have failed 4 times, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because nothing is carved in stone. And if you want something badly enough, you just got to go out there and decide that you want to do it. You got to decide in your mindset that you want it, and how bad do you want it that you're going to go through it. But the first thing we do is we feel this frustration, we feel this uncomfort, and we want to rubber band back to where we were. And you can't do that. You got to push through that negativity. You got to push through that frustration. And once you push through that frustration, you're 3 feet from gold, and you quit right there when you're 2.5 feet.
So sad. And I love how you're saying, every one of us have frustrations. Every one of us at times have been given a raw deal or bad hands. Every one of us has had to deal with things that are unfair. You know what I'm saying? So I love what you're saying. Do not play the victor, or the victim, play the victor. You cannot play victim. You know what I'm saying? Just you can't, because it gets you nowhere. And anger, life is unfair. You're a little mad, whatever. Use that as a driving force. Use that as an energy to go out and do good, to go out and create a better life for yourself. Millions of people have done that. I'm one of them. I took the anger of of a life that I didn't think was fair. And I used that for energy to go out and create the life I wanted, to go and create the family that I wanted. And now I got the family I want and pretty close to the life I want. Of course, nothing's ever perfect, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep striving to create a better life for me and my loved ones and everybody whose circle I come into contact with, which makes the world a better place, at least in small circles. Maybe hopefully bigger circles some days, you know?
Yes.
And Dan, I know you're doing the same exact thing. And I also know that Mirna's getting ready to come back on our show to close us out. But I want to give you an opportunity. She'll ask you where people can find you and all that. But I want to give you an opportunity. I mean, was there a question that I should have asked you that I didn't? Is there anything you want to say to kind of close out the show? And
No,
way,
I want to thank you for having me on your show today, and for a special thing for your audience. What I did, I went to my website. I have my 30-day coaching program available online. So if you go to danielgomezspeaker.com, on the homepage, danielgomezspeaker.com, they can click on the 30-day program and they'll get that at a discounted price for being part of your audience. And also danielgomezinspires.com, they can download a free copy of my book at no additional cost. Daniel Gomez Inspires with an S.com. So those are my two websites that they can get some goodies at. And I guarantee you it's going to change your mind, because one thing, if you lack confidence in life, you're never going to be the person that you are meant to be.
No doubt. Dan, it was great talking to you. Looks like Mirna's back to close us out. Welcome back, Mirna.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for allowing us to be a channel for your ideas, and thank you for sharing your times with the Mindalia TV audience. I guess that we know already where to find you, Daniel, right?
Yes.
Okay, how about you, Daniel Blanchard? Where can our audience find you?
Well, thank you, Mirna. All over. Just Google Dan Blanchard, speaker, author. Pop up everywhere, danblanchard.net, granddaddyseekers.com. Check me out on YouTube, all the social media channels. Definitely hit me up on Amazon. If you like leadership, check out The Storm. If you're in the academic world, I just released a new book this weekend on how to become more successful with difficult students. So you can check that out if you're an educator in the educational world. But definitely check me out, and I will respond back. If you zip me emails or messages, definitely I will respond back. Looking forward to building some relationships with our audience out there. Thank you, Mirna.
Thank you. To our audience, of course, thank you as well. And don't leave without subscribing or liking this video. You can also share it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content of what we were talking here today. Remember, we want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. You can do it in English, Portuguese, in Spanish. You just have to go to our website. On the top, you're going to find the link says collaborate with Mindalia. That link takes you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. Follow not only this channel, but also our Spanish channel and our Portuguese channel. Visit Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, and with that, you are not only helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible, but you also keep yourself updated with the amazing information that we share on a daily basis. Thank you, gentlemen, again for sharing your time and your ideas with the Mindalia TV audience. And to the audience, thank you. And from our heart to yours, we're sending you a very, very big hug. Until next time.
Thank you.